The White House last night hosted neighborhood families for trick-or-treating. They didn't get that many visitors, though, because kids know a raisin house when they see one.
They know a raisin house when they see one. Are they talking about Joe and Jill? Is they talking Joe and Jill? Are they the raisins in this version of the story? He's suggesting that, how shall I put this? Well, happy Wednesday to you. Happy Wednesday. That means it's hump day in the Clinton household. Hillary once again waking up face down in a pool of her own dried vomit on the linoleum kitchen floor with an empty 1-gallon cardboard box of cheap New Zealand Chardonnay next to her in the Secret Service. Their knuckles on their hips, shaking their heads, tisk-tisking Hillary once again. Must this be the case every Wednesday? And Bill, of course, waiting for the Energizer to come over because it's hump day at the Clinton household. And last night was Halloween. What do you think Bill Clinton dressed up as? Kind of the same thing every year, I guess. Boy, it's such a sad story, isn't it? Bill and Hill. Very, very sad. Hillary Clinton, what might have been. Thank God it wasn't, but what might have been. What a horror story she is. Can you imagine your kids ringing a doorbell and Hillary Clinton comes to the door? Ah! It's the scariest thing I ever saw. Wow, that's a hell of a costume there. You look as scary as Hillary Clinton. I am Hillary Clinton. Ah! Very, very scary. You see, in Washington, there's an actual news story that in Washington, D.C., it was Halloween last night in Washington, D.C. I think it was elsewhere also. But in Washington, D.C., I noticed our neighborhood, which is normally very dressed up for Halloween, not very dressed up this year. We have entire blocks in our neighborhood that historically will just kind of go over the top. People would drive from all over the city to come to this, like a 2-block area in our neighborhood, to ooh and ah, and people would have electronic things with scary skeletons moving and talking to the kids and fun stuff. But this Halloween, not nearly so much, not so much at all. A couple of houses still dressed up, but not many. And there's a news story that a lot of people turned the lights off and hid behind the couch on Halloween because in Washington, D.C., people are afraid to open their front doors. And, they might get carjacked by a teenager if they open their front door because, we got these 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds and 15-year-olds shooting people all over the place because Democrats, And as I pointed out, the problem is not our guns, it's your sons. It's not our guns, it's your sons. Stop raising murderers, and the world will be a better place. Stop raising carjackers. We've got teenage girls that are carjackers, too. How many, Michael? I think 6 carjackers were killed in Washington, D.C. in the month of October. 6 carjackers killed. Not that they killed people while carjacking. 6 carjackers killed, and all of them teenagers. All of them teenagers. One teenage girl, I think she was 15, carjacked a car, was racing around at a high rate of speed, crashed into another car and got killed. Ironically, the other car that she crashed into was also a carjacked car being driven by another teenage girl. What's up with that, as people used to say? That's extraordinary. And then the 13-year-old was shot and killed while attempting to carjack a man. The man, unfortunately for the now deceased 13-year-old, the man was a federal building security officer who was just arriving at his place of work when 2 teenagers tried to carjack him, and it didn't go so well. Didn't go so well for them. And, of course, at the beginning of the month of October, we got the news about the 4 teenage boys who had carjacked a car, and they were racing around when a police officer noticed that the license plate on the car that they had carjacked was expired. It was an expired temporary tag. So a police officer casually went to pull over the 4 teenagers. They took off, of course, going 100 miles an hour, crashed into a tree, and boom, the car blew up and fiery crash, and all 4 of them were killed. So carjacking is not as safe as it was in, say August in Washington, D.C. Kind of a deadly month. But back to Halloween, because a lot of people in Washington, D.C. I know with the kids and stuff, probably disappointed in a lot of cases. The kids, the little kids, what about the kids? And the people not showing up at the door because of the reign of terror that the Democrat Party has unleashed in our nation's capital with their criminal children. So many criminals in such a small space as is Washington, D.C. I'm telling you. But fear not, because Mayor Muriel Bowser, she's the mayor of Washington, D.C., of our nation's capital. The front page of the Metro sectional in the Washington Post, they've got a lot of Metro sectionals over there. Bowser, that's our mayor. Bowser issues new sexual harassment policy. They got a new sexual harassment. Forget about the murders and the carjackings and the people fleeing the city and all that stuff. But she did have this, what was he, deputy mayor or something? And he was a big sexual harasser because Democrats are just like that. And they can't help it. Like Bill Clinton and, Joe Biden. Tara Reid, former Joe Biden staffer in his Senate office, has fled to Russia, where she feels safe from the Biden family. I wouldn't bank on that, though, because, Russia funneled millions of dollars to the Biden family, too. But that's okay. I read in the Washington Post that that's okay, that Russia gave the Biden family millions of dollars. And we've got updates on that, too. We do have updates on but the whole crime thing, there was another warning. Forget about the carjackings and the murders. A warning went out from a local police in Washington, D.C., northeast Washington, D.C. They wanted to warn the neighborhood around H, like Henry Street, northeast, because a crazy man with a machete had just been arrested. And he was brought in by the police because the people on the street were saying there's a crazy man with a machete going around threatening to kill people. And so the police said, okay, even though the Democrats want to defund us, and we'll arrest the guy with the machete. He might be MS-13 or something. He might be an open border guy, but he might just be a Democrat. And so they arrested the machete-wielding guy on H Street Northeast, threw him in the hoosgow, right there in the can, and even the radical left-wing pro-crime U.S. attorney said, I think we should hold this guy. And the judge said, no, let him go. So a couple hours later, the machete-wielding lunatic was back on the streets of Washington, D.C., because Democrats love murder. They don't really want to do anything until there's the murder, and then they don't want to do much either. I think they only close about 50% of the murder cases in Washington, so half the murderers are on the loose. But this time, the machete-wielding loon was put back on the street because a Democrat judge said, what, just threatening people with a machete and threatening to kill everybody? You think you should be in jail for that? No. Forget that. Let's put him back on the street. And if he actually chops somebody to pieces, then we'll see if we can catch him, and then we'll decide later whether he should stay in jail or not. Pretty amazing, pretty appalling stuff, but that's what happens in Democrat-run cities. So we got the machete-wielding guy. Completely crazy. And that's not all, because there's more. They love crime so much. Gosh, don't they? They love crime. And that doesn't even count. I'm going to get into these Biden administration people who are jihadis. They have actual jihadis, pro-jihad jihadis in the Biden administration, including the Department of Homeland Security. And that's fine. That's fine. You can be pro-genocide and be a member of the Biden administration in good standing. Never mind that. They got these mujahideen jihadis in the Department of Homeland Security and stuff, but that's no big deal. So I want to get to that as well. And there's more crazy. There are more crazy crime stories, because there's the machete-wielding lunatic who was put right back on the street again because of Democrats. Also at the White House last night, did you see at the White House they had Halloween, and Joe Biden, you see Joe Biden fumbling around and dropping the candy and bending over and looking like a cartoon character of himself, trying to pick up the candy he dropped so he could give candy to the kids. And the kids weren't normal kids. They might have been actors brought in from California that were auditioned, like that Kamala Harris on the front porch of the vice president's residence thing. You can see the craters on the moon with your own eyes. Yeah, everybody can. Kamala. But that's Kamala. And I don't know if they brought kids in from California, if they auditioned them, but there are not a lot of residences in the immediate vicinity of the White House, particularly where people with kids live, up 16th Street. And but the kids lining up, and this is perfectly normal. And you saw Dr. Jill Biden was dressed like a cat, like she's a 17-year-old going to a high school party, which she is not, for the record. Really, for Halloween, she should have been a doctor, right? It would have been funny if she had dressed up in scrubs with a stethoscope and and then she could use a surgical mask, and that'd be funny. Hey, it's Dr. Jill Biden. See, now that'd be a sense of humor, but no. Instead, she dressed as a cat, like she's a teenage girl going to a trampy party on Halloween or something. And she had you saw they used, Michael, like the grease paint to put like a cat mouth on her. I'm going like this around my lips with my index finger. And a lot of people observed that the way they did the makeup on her face to look like a cat actually looks like a Hitler mustache. She's actually got kind of a Hitler mustache there because, the Socialist Workers Party, you know how they are. So that was pretty wacky. And then it didn't end there at the White House, because with the actors they brought in, they brought in the kids of Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State, to act like normal kids, right? And Antony Blinken's daughter was dressed as the Ukrainian flag, So she was blue on top and yellow on bottom, and she's the Ukrainian flag. And his son, Antony Blinken's son, was, I'm not making this up, was for Halloween dressed as Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelenskyy, which really paid off for the Blinken family, because they didn't give him a Snickers bar, full size, or they gave him $1 billion. That's kind of crazy. They gave him $1 billion because he was dressed like a miniature Volodymyr Zelenskyy. And apparently, they gave him a house in Switzerland and a yacht in Malta. Because, there's, you saw the story that in Ukraine, they're robbing us blind over there. Well, Joe Biden's trying to give him another $61 billion. Not 60, $61 billion, because you need that extra $1 billion for yachts and houses in Switzerland. And word is that they're stealing the money in Ukraine. The quote was, like there's no tomorrow. The money is being stolen like it's like a gangster fest with tens of billions of our dollars, which is what it is, by the way, a gangster fest with tens. That's why it's like that. That's why it seems like that, because it is that. And so Joe Biden is demanding another all the Democrats, another $61 billion. How is this being filtered back to the Democrats is really the only question. And they want to make sure that there is nobody keeping track of where and this is not even a joke. This is true. The Democrats are fighting hammer and sickle. They're scratching their way. They'll scratch your eyes out. They're scratching their way to $61 billion more of our dollars for Ukraine, famously and notoriously corrupt country. And they want to make sure that nobody here or anyplace else is keeping track of how those tens of billions of dollars are spent. And the word is, that the news story is, that we're being robbed blind over there like there's no tomorrow. Our money is being stolen. Now, Joe Biden, see the Republicans in the House of Representatives and the new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, saying that they want to have standalone bills. And we want to have one bill over here for aid to Israel, and it would be debated in committees, and then it would be voted for in the House of Representatives. And then a separate bill for aid to Ukraine, which would be debated in committee, then debated by the full House, and then voted on as a standalone bill, since it's more than $60 billion. And the Democrats are screaming, and Chuck Schumer, who's a criminal, and he's the Lizard King. He is the Lizard King. And they're saying, no, it's all going to be lumped together. Joe Biden says that he will veto any bill, standalone bill of aid for Israel, because he's a Jew hater. What else can you say? I mean, what other possible explanation could there be? No, it's all got to be lumped together so nobody knows what's in any of these bills, and we just throw hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars out the window with nobody keeping track of it because they're criminals. Let me just say that out loud. Because they're criminals. Completely nuts. Completely, I've got a woman for you. She's a Palestinian woman. I think she's 33 years old. She looks kind of normal if you look at a picture of her, but she's not. And she's not even Hamas. She's like Palestinian Authority on the West Bank. And, you know, it's not exactly the left bank of Paris. It's the West Bank. And you give them a whole lot of land, and guess what they do? Well, you hear what this young woman had to say about the Jews. I don't think she likes them. What do you think? I don't think she does. We're at 888-630-9625. A woman shot and killed by the police, a fully veiled Muslim woman, shouting Allahu Akbar, shot and killed by French police, probably Islamophobia. We're still waiting to see whether that's a hate crime or not. 888-630-9625. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. You see the jihadi dump a box full of Palestine flag-colored mice into a McDonald's restaurant inside the front door because, you know, the world has gone mad. And but if you notice it, then you're suffering from Islamophobia, the Democrat Party says, which is an irrational fear of Islam. And if you say that, they just might cut off your head. So you gotta be. That's a little bit of a high wire act there. Let's grab a phone call, Michael. Let's go to Wayne, calling from beautiful Tampa, Florida. Wayne, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris, and let me thank you for helping me get my daughter off the government dole during COVID. And her retired Marine Master Sergeant have been married a year. But I answered the phone, and I started thinking, were you talking about Gaza or what?
Was I telling you about Gaza or Washington, D.C.?
Washington, D.C.
Yeah, what you mean with the machete crazy person on the loose and the carjackings and their people afraid to go to their front doors? Is that what you're talking about, Wayne?
And the tunnels and the unaudited money.
Right.
I mean, explain the difference. I'll get off the air so you can clarify that to me, but they look the same to me from down here in the South. God bless you.
Well, thank you, Wayne. Yeah. Have a great Florida day. D.C., well, this is because the left is here. And the left is, interestingly enough, pro-jihad. It seems counterintuitive, I know. But here's the deal. If they're against us, then the left is with them. My enemy's enemy is my friend. Now, the jihad is alive and well, and that's not Islamophobia or anything like that. That's just, awareness, just not being underground, like those Hamas guys in the tunnels. And you see, the left is very upset that a jihadi leader of Hamas got blowed up by the Israelis yesterday after he ensconced himself in a refugee, it's not a refugee camp because it's right there in the Gaza. And it's the Hamas, the Palestinians, that are locking people in there. They've turned it into a prison, and now they're hoping that everybody's killed so they can blame the Jews. Kind of like the Democrats, you know. They got a lot in common. But this jihadi chief was killed, one of the plotters and planners of the October 7th attack, and he was killed. But, of course, he situated himself among people that they're identifying as refugees. Well, it's like your house is right there. But never mind that. And it's all the Israelis' fault because, the left can't wait for more people to get killed because it's good for their political cause. It's good for their propaganda war against the Jews, because they are against the Jews. See? Speaking of which, let's go to this story of a 33-year-old woman who is a Palestinian from the West Bank, not from the Gaza, but from the West Bank. Right? Down in the West Bank town of Ramallah, I fell in love with a terrorist girl. All right, so here it is, terror activist. This is her job title. Says on her, she has business cards. It's like American Psycho, but it's Palestinian Psycho. You know, in the movie American Psycho, they have the business cards, the fancy business cards, and they're trying to outdo each other with business cards. I think maybe this woman, Ahed Tamimi, might win that business card competition in American Psycho or in the remake Palestinian Psycho, because her business card has her name, Ahed, which is kind of a funny name, Ahed, Ahed. Her name is Ahed Tamimi, Tamimi. She's Ahed Tamimi. And the second line on her business card is terror activist, because that's what the headline says right here. Terror activist Ahed Tamimi. What Hitler did is a joke compared to what we'll do to you. That seems like a pretty grandiose claim. Palestinian terror activist Ahed Tamimi is well known for her provocative statements and actions against Israel and Israeli soldiers. She, in a famous incident in December of 2017, Tamimi, then just 16, she's kind of the, I don't know, is she the Rachel Dolezal, or, maybe she's the, is she an environmentalist of any kind? Because she could probably be the, she's, how they love teenage activists. She's the Greta Thunberg, the Greta von Thunberg of, because they love using children. The left and jihadis and criminal gangs in Washington, D.C. love using teenagers. It's all really a Democrat Party thing. It all dovetails nicely. So an famous incident in December of 2016, when Tamimi was then 16 years old, slapped an Israeli soldier filming the incident, probably making video with a phone, which went viral and catapulted her to fame and international interviews, in which she incited against Israel and called for armed uprisings to redeem the entire land of Israel for the Palestinians from the river to the sea, as the Democrat Party likes to say. Tamimi was encouraged by her mother, Neriman, to perform these provocations, and it was the mother who made the video. A form of child abuse, as she was intentionally sending her daughter to perpetuate a crime. But, who's going to, what is Hamas going to arrest her? I don't think so. They call me a lioness. Her Instagram account was briefly closed last January after she praised the Nev Yaakov terrorist as a hero and reveled in the number of people murdered in the incident. She loves murder. She's the Democrats want to move her here because they know they've got her vote already locked up. Her vote is a lock for the Democrat Party. But then she she posted her true feelings. Hey, tell us how you really feel. She said, our message to the herds of settlers, so the herds of the Jews, herds of settlers. She said, we are waiting for you in all the towns on the West Bank, from Hebron to Jenin. We will slaughter you, and you'll say what Hitler did to you was a joke. That's just her opening thing, because it gets better from there. Listen to this. She says, we will drink your blood and eat your skulls. You will eat our skulls? That's kind of mostly bone. We're talking about skulls here. Eat your skulls. Go on. We're waiting for you. This is a 33-year-old. She's a celebrity there. Now, this is the West Bank. This is not the Gaza Strip. I'm beginning to think that these Palestinians have a broader problem of some kind. What do you think?
How dare you?
We're waiting. She is the Greta Thunberg of the jihad, I think. Now she's 23. She's probably timed out. They're going to give her a suicide vest and tell her to blow herself up. Oh, they blow up so soon. We're waiting for you in the towns of the West Bank from Hebron to Jenin. We will slaughter you, and you'll say what Hitler did to you was a joke. That's probably untrue, don't you think? We'll drink your blood and eat your skulls. That's what she said. She's kind of, seems a little emotional. Seems probably... This is all wrong. This is all wrong. She is, she's just a run-of-the-mill Palestinian activist, and or terror activist, as her business card says. That's your... And you know who's with her? The Democratic Party. That's who's with her. That might be the surprising thing in all of this, but I'm not 100% sure. And your Democrats, speaking of Democrats, the Washington Free Beacon has the story today. Great Washington newspaper, the Washington Free Beacon. We have so many great papers. The Washington Examiner, the Washington Times, the Washington Free Beacon. And I have the Washington Post right here in front of me also. Hang on just a sec. I spit on you. I spit on your grave. Here's the Washington Free Beacon. Quote, "We only want one side to stop fighting," end quote. Meet the Minneapolis public school teacher who called for Israel's eradication. Calling for Israel's eradication. She self-describes as a liberal. At a socialist rally. She's really a socialist. Meredith A.B. Kierstead. Meredith A.B. Kierstead. She's got a hyphenated last name. Celebrated Hamas as freedom fighters at event commemorating past socialist revolutions. Socialists love death. They love murder. Again, Adolf Hitler's party was the Socialist Workers' Party of Germany. Somehow that has been eradicated, erased from history. A Minneapolis public school teacher called for the eradication of the Jewish state during an event commemorating, quote, past socialist revolutions, end quote, stating that she does not support a complete ceasefire in Israel because she only wants one side to stop fighting. Guess which side she wants to stop fighting? She wants them, she's a socialist like Bernie Sanders. She wants them to murder all the Jews, and she's a school teacher. She should be gassed, don't you think? Because, that'd be ironic. And, Democrats have no sense of irony. Pretty amazing stuff. Meredith A.B. Kierstead, a social studies teacher, naturally, at Kennedy High School, of course, in suburban Minneapolis, Minnesota, spoke at an October 21st Freedom Road Socialist Organization panel, which she aimed to contrast China's socialist policies to the imperialist agenda of the United States. China fared pretty well in her assessment. They love slavery, too. The Uyghurs and harvesting organs. The Democrats harvest organs here, too, but mostly just from babies. During her speech, however, A.B. Kierstead steered the conversation away from China, opting instead to praise the, quote, wins of Palestinian freedom fighters. That's what she said. She said she advocated for terrorism against Israel. When I hear people calling for a complete ceasefire, she said, I think, no, that's not quite right, because we only want one side to stop fighting. That's she's a social studies teacher. And then she went on to chant. They love chanting. That could be a sign of severe brain damage. From the river to the sea, she chanted, Palestine will be free. We should send her to the Gaza. I think she'd like it there. A rallying cry for the destruction of the Jewish state. That's Israel. A.B. Kierstead, her support for Hamas and their ongoing attacks against the Jewish state shows that, the American K through 12 schools are not immune from the anti-Israel, anti-Semitic rhetoric exploding on college campuses following the terror group's October 7th assault. She, just kind of amazing. A.B. Kierstead, who worked as a Bloomington Public Schools teacher since 1997, is an active member of a number of far-left activist groups, including the Freedom Road Socialist Organization's Twin City chapter and the Anti-War Committee. They're not anti-war, they're anti-civilization. They're pro-war. They just want civilization to lose. Last week, both the public school teacher and her 14-year-old daughter I wonder how that happened. Were arrested for trespassing at an anti-Israel rally held by at Representative Betty McCollum's office. She's a Democrat from Minnesota. And the St. Paul Police Department confirmed Abby Kierstead and other rallygoers said they would not leave until they got to speak with the representative about her silence on the loss of Palestinian lives. They love decapitated babies. This is perfectly mainstream Democrat Party stuff. Right? And it's our school system. And the teachers union, they're in favor of this. They're completely insane. Abby Kierstead pro-Hamas speech, the October 21st panel was revealed by the Freedom Road Socialist Organization's blog. They put it on there proudly. Fight Back. It's called Fight Back News. That's what it's called. On that blog, 2015 expressed support for convicted Palestinian terrorist Rasmea Oda, who was involved in the 1969 bombing of a Jerusalem supermarket. They're still praising terrorists from 1969 because they're leftists and they love death, violence, mayhem, and murder. The organization itself works to, quote, create a new communist party based on Marxism-Leninism. This is her organization here. And sure, referred to the Hamas attacks on Israel, the October 7th attacks, as a good turn of events. Surely. Israel, the U.S. government, and much of the media promotes the idea that the Palestinian resistance is somehow, quote, terrorist, end quote. Nothing could be further from the truth. This is mainstream Democrat Party thought at this point. You know why it's mainstream Democrat Party thought? Because they have had people like this miscreant working as teachers for years now and miseducating the youth of America. Amazing stuff. This is your Democrat Party. There it is. Just amazing. Also, Wajahat Ali. We got that Wajahat Ali story too, because that's pretty crazy. Wajahat Ali is he's not on our side. That's he's what does he call himself? A journalist or something? He calls himself a journalist. Wajahat Ali, kind of a fun name. Wajahat. Wajahat. And then Ali, like Muhammad Ali. And Wajahat Ali has an ex-post here. Got an ex-post from yesterday. He said, assuming he's a man, met a Columbia University grad student, South Asian woman. That usually means Pakistani. South Asian, they keep it vague. I got to keep it vague. Met, and it's probably a fake story anyway, because he lies a lot because he's a lefty. Met a Columbia University grad student, South Asian woman, who got doxxed for signing on to a letter. It's not doxing. Her name was out there publicly. It's not what the word doxed means. It's not what the word doxing means, but never mind that. Her face is shared on a truck that went around the university. Remember, the police raided the man's house that rented the truck and put the faces on the names on the truck of these anti-Semites and drove around around Harvard University in Cambridge, Mass. But here's Wajahat Ali, met a Columbia University grad student who's South Asian, who got doxxed for signing a letter. That's false. Her face shared on the truck went around the university. She was walking through campus and someone stopped her and said, quote, "Oh, so you're that terrorist, right?" End quote. Now, first of all, that didn't happen. All right? It's, she's at Columbia University grad student. That didn't happen. Did they even use the faces of Columbia University grad students? I thought it was just Harvard and University of Pennsylvania. And Wajahat Ali goes on to lie. You can disagree with folks, their opinions you might find nutty, but aggressively targeting and doxing college kids and grad students, well, there's nothing aggressive about it. You guys are the aggressors here. Once again, they accuse you of doing what they're doing. It's amazing, classic left-wing techniques. The Soviet Union adopted these techniques, and the left has adopted them here in the United States. Doxing college students and college kids. They're just kids. And like the decapitated kids in Israel. And grad students, and making them unsafe, trying to ruin their career. I think their careers should be ruined. Or they could be hired by fellow anti-Semites. probably isn't the flex you think, or best. This is, this guy is out of his mind, of course. But that's okay because, he's a journalist and he's a mainstream liberal. All right? That's who they are. They're Democrats. They love terror. You're the bad guy. Fascism will not be tolerated as long as it's profitable, says Wajahat Ali. Now, here's one of the funny tweets in response to this was, somebody said, oh, thanks for publicizing this. Here's the entire list of names of people that signed on to that document, that anti-Semitic document. The Democrat Party is are they the new fascist party on the planet Earth? Or just in the United States of America? I do love this, though. Ron Basalian says, thanks for publicizing this. You can find all their names here. And here's the link to the Accuracy and Media list of names of people that publicly signed on to this anti-Israel document. Just amazing. And Wajahat Ali, well, he's a hypocrite and people posted his hypocritical posts here because he's a lefty, so naturally he's a hypocrite.
It is classic Russian technique to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
The Biden White House and the Democrats are very, very concerned that they're going to lose the jihad vote in next year's election if they say anything about Israel that is positive. So they're trying to not say anything positive about Israel because of the Mujahideen vote. It's part of their base. They don't want to lose their anti-Semite base, their pro-jihad base, the radical Islamic vote in the United States, which, they've opened our borders to all the beep holes in the world and flowed people in. And who knows what the numbers are because nobody knows what the numbers are. And the people flowing across our southern border from China, from the Middle East, the Democrat Party doesn't care. In fact, the FBI director, who's a weasel, yesterday said, oh, yeah, we got the highest terror threat we've seen in the history of terror threat or something like that. I'll share that audio with you shortly. But Michael Piercy and I were talking about this. And, this doxing thing, Wajahat Ali, it's not doxing. She signed on to a public letter. It's not what the word means. But never mind that. Michael and I were talking, maybe we could make money. We got a money-making scheme. We're going to stand up a website for Democrats. We want to help. What is it? Antisemitejobs.com. Called antisemitejobs.com. Ivy League.